Hello everybody, this is Betsy from ideastimestwo, and today I have a tutorial for you how to make these covers. So I made some small single signature journals, and you can make them with a little bit of variety. This one and this one have front pockets and back pockets, and this one doesn't. And I also chose some different closures for each one too, so you can vary them, but these are super simple to make and very fun. As you can see, I've made 3 and they were really quick and easy to put together. So I made these out of gift bags. So here you can see this is the next one in the set. There was this, I think I bought a pack of 12 maybe, or something like that, a pack of 12, and there were 4 different designs. So here's one design, and this one has butterflies, and then this one also has sort of a dotty, almost like an animal print in pink. So so it came in a set of 4 patterns, and this is a pattern I haven't done yet, so I thought I'd bring you along with me and show you how I made the simple signature journal. It winds up to be, let me tell you the bag. So you'll need a bag, a couple pieces of cardstock, and that's it, besides your basic. Maybe I like the look of the fabric on the spine, so if you have some scrap fabric for that. Let's see, what else? That's about it. Basic supplies. I did some top stitching on mine, so if you have a sewing machine and you like that look, top stitching, we'll be doing that. But you don't have to. And I think that's about it. Some basic supplies like that. And you hardly need glue, maybe just a tiny bit to stabilize the part on the inside of the book, which we'll come to later. So I started to say my bag is 10¼ inches high this way, and it is 8 inches wide. And then when you unfold it, the depth of it is 4 inches. So, but you can make it any size. This technique will work for any size. Your measurements will change, and really there are hardly any measurements at all. Just the pieces of cardstock I used to reinforce the bag is the only thing that'll change, I believe. So any size will do. And then the journal winds up to be a little 5×8 journal, which is slightly smaller than sort of what your regular size that you usually think of a 6×9. And the spine is about ½ inch, but it's rounded, so it's sort of hard to measure that. So that's what it winds up to be. All right, so the first thing we'll do is remove the handles. So they're pretty easy to remove. They come with a strip of paper that they just glued on over the handles, and so I found the easiest way to remove the handles is to just hold your fingers. I'm trying to do it so I can show you better. Hold your fingers on either side and then just pull it back. So you're sort of keeping the paper there, but you're pulling the handles. So, and this is nothing but twisted paper, which is kind of cool. You could use that for something too. I remember back in the olden days, I made dolls out of that twisted paper. Do you guys remember that phase? And then, if this paper is fairly thick, this one is. I bought these bags at Hobby Lobby, but you can get them at grocery stores. Dollar Tree and all kinds of places. So then it's pretty easy to remove this And of course you don't want to rip your paper bag. If it rips off one layer, it's probably not a big deal, but we're trying hard not to rip it, and generally they come off fairly easily. So, but if you just try to rip the handle, I think you're more likely to rip the bag, and that's why I just put my fingers on both sides of this and then took the handle off like this, one at a time. And then we don't need that. And it's covered with glue, so you probably won't be able to use it for anything. All right, so now we have a beautiful paper bag with no handle. The next thing we're going to do is cut off this bottom. We're not going to cut through any of these folds. We're just going to basically cut this rectangle right off. So you'll insert your scissors, so just be careful you're not going through too many layers. We just want that very top layer. Now this is all glued down, right? And so, but we're cutting that whole thing off. I'm just talking about the layers that are going to be located underneath this. Okay, so we're just cutting off this top rectangle. And once I got my sharp scissors to help me out there, I'm going to. So you might need to hold your hand in here so that you don't cut through. So that you don't cut through on these folds. Make sure I'm cutting the right thing here. So this is what I was referring to here. We don't want to cut this fold right here. Nope, actually that was actually part of the bag, or the rectangle that we're cutting off. If you look down through here, these folds are the ones you don't want to cut. So, but this is one unit, and so this is the rectangle we're cutting off. It's just kind of hard to see that for a second, so just bear with me there. Just cutting off the rectangle. And then once again, we're going to make sure we're not cutting into the folds of the bag itself. And don't worry about getting it, you're going to want to try to cut it off evenly, but don't worry if it doesn't, if you've got some little ridges in here left over, don't worry about that, because you will be trimming that off after we get the next part done here. All right, so the two styles, I showed you. This one has no pockets, and I'll show you the inside too. So this one has no pockets, as you can see here better, and it does not have a pocket on the inside. Okay, so there are basically two styles. You can put the pocket, like this one has, on the outside or the inside, or you can have no pocket. So that part is up to you, but I'll show you how to do both of those. I guess it's three, but so this is what you have. You have the handles off, and then you have just the bottom cut off. Okay, then you're going to smooth this out like this. Now, if you don't want a pocket, that's it. You're done with this step. You will need to trim this. Fact is, I might as well just do that right now, because for either part, if you want a pocket or you don't, you still need to trim this part to make it nice and straight. Otherwise, we have lots of cut lines, and so you're going to wind up cutting about 1/8 of an inch off. And I missed a spot right here. I think my blade is getting dull. Okay, so if you don't want a pocket, then you are done, as I mentioned. If you do want a pocket, we will just be pulling the side out and down like this. Leave this top part alone. Don't worry about the side on that one. but we pulled the side down. Now you can fold it up for a pocket. And you might want to ink this to kind of distinguish it from the other side, or the back, I mean, here. I will be top stitching and probably inking too, so that kind of distinguishes the pocket from the back, but you may also collage on it, and that'll make it look different than the back part too. All right, so you can use this now for your outside pocket, in which case you're going to be folding it like this. Or you may choose to make it your inside pocket, so you would be folding it like this. That way when you open your book, you've got pockets on the front cover, front inside cover, and the front, or in the back inside cover. All right, so I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna put this on the outside. So I think this will be my outside pocket. Okay, so the next step is to turn this to the inside. Now you might have folds. This one's going to have a fold here, and it has a fold here. But after you get it decorated, and it really does not detract from the cover. So if you pay attention to those folds and you really don't like it, and you can work it out the way you want to, then just put that on the inside. So that's what I should do there, I think. I'm going to put this on the inside of my book, so then my outside won't have that fold. So that is another factor. This is still going to have a little fold here. Also, what I'm noticing, I did notice this on one of my other ones, there's a really uneven edge here. So if I have this on my inside cover, you're going to see that edge. So what I'm going to do is fold this one back in and not use that one at all. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this end instead. This does not have that seam. It wasn't an issue with two of the books that I already made, but it was with one. So I have encountered that before. So now I'm going to look for the line, which is here. So I'll put that on the inside, and then this will be my outside. And it still has a little fold there, and that doesn't bother me at all. Okay, so now I have a piece there that escaped my notice before. Just trim that off. Okay, so now I'm all set. So this will be my inside. What I did next was I measured, I'm going to just measure it on my mat here. This is exactly 10 inches. So what I'm going to do here is mark halfway marks, little tick line there, and a little tick mark here. And then what I'm going to do is use a ruler. Let's see if I put my, here it is, right here. So I'm going to draw a line, and this won't show. In fact, this will be cut off basically. So I'm going to draw a line. So I'm centering, this is the center line. Okay, and then I'm going to mark another line a 1/4 inch away on the right side, and a 1/4 inch away on the left side. And I just flipped it upside down so I could do it easier since I'm right-handed. Okay, so now you should have 3 lines. And then all I'm going to do, and the reason I'm doing this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a long rectangle here. And the reasoning for it is that when you fold this, we don't want all that pressure on the inside of the book when you're trying to keep these 2 layers together. So we're just going to, just through the top layer, we're going to cut a rectangle. And I'm leaving about a 1/4 of an inch. Let me mark this, or let me cut this up a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. And this does not have to be cut so that it's perfectly straight. This will not show. This is just relieving the pressure of the 2 pages, the 2 layers when you fold it. So anyway, we're going to leave 1/4 of an inch here at the bottom and 1/4 of an inch here at the top. And the reason for that is because when we top stitch, we want to just top stitch. We want to keep a little reinforcement here, and then it'll give us enough room for that top stitching to go right over the top. Okay, so we're just going to continue cutting here, just through the top layer. Okay, leaving a 1/4 inch along the edge, and then back down to meet our other cut here. Okay, so just cut off a little piece like that, and that will help you. All right, so that's all ready now, and the next thing to do is to round our corners. I like to round the corners before I top stitch so that I can do my corners matching the angle or the roundness, I guess, of the corner. And look at this. Look at what happened to my corner rounder. Oh, you can see it better like that. See that? I dropped it on the floor and this piece broke off. And it's not fun to use anymore. It's not easy at all. So I'm just going to do 1/4 of an inch rounding. So this is the front of my book. I'll just be rounding the 4 corners here. It really is kind of a challenge to do this. I'll show you in a second after I round these corners. I'm not worried about this flippity flap here. You can glue that if you'd like to. I usually don't, and I'll just go over it with my sewing machine and it'll be closed. I guess you could choose to cut it off too if you'd like to. I just think it gives it a little bit more reinforcement, and it doesn't affect the look of the cover at all. So first thing, I'm going to top stitch along the pocket, and then I'll top stitch all the way around the cover. All stitched, and I did put a little inking on there, not much, just a little. So this is what it will look like when you've got it that far into this step. If you don't have a sewing machine, just make sure you glue your edges together. All right, the next thing I did, now this gift bag is very thick and I probably wouldn't even need this next step, but I like to have my covers pretty sturdy. So the next step I do is, also some gift bags are flimsier than others, right? So what I did was I cut a piece of cardstock, and this is just scrap cardstock that I had. I cut it about 1/4 of an inch smaller on all sides, and then you should be able to just slip it in. This gift bag is also thick enough, so I don't think that pattern is going to show, but I accidentally printed something in black and white instead of color. So I cut them both the same size, and they just slip right in, and that makes it nice and sturdy. And then I did use just a few dots of glue to hold these edges down here before we put the fabric on. Just make sure to glue on top of the little extra cardstock there, and on the underneath side of the cardstock, so that all 3 layers are nice and, well, they're not totally glued down, but you're sort of tacking them down just to keep these edges from coming up. All right, and then it would be a good idea before the glue dries is to just smooth this all out with your bone folder. Just smooth it out. Perfect. All right, so then I like to put, as I mentioned already, I like to put fabric, make it a little bit more interesting of a cover. I like to have sort of a contrasting spine, so that will be fabric for me, and I'm going to put, I cut this about 2 inches wide, so I'm going to glue this down and then top stitch it, and then we'll flip it over, and I have another piece of fabric, and we'll just glue it down here, and then that'll be it. And then we'll talk about closures real quick. So the way I do this, so I cut this 2 inches, and what I'll do is to get this nice and the fabric nice and straight the first time without making a mistake, I usually mark my center, and then I'll sort of eyeball the fabric left and right to make sure it's centered. And then I usually measure it again. I'll show you. You could put a little dab of glue right here, just right in the center of the pocket too, but I didn't do that on the other ones. Probably not necessary to do that. Okay, so what I'll do is spread some glue here, center this, just take a little peek, center it, take a peek under here, center it, and you could also mark a little line where the center is here and the center is here, and then you could make sure they match up. But today I think I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm using Fabri-Tac. I think I'm going to do the top half first since it's a very thin layer. It's going to dry fast, so I'll just do the top half, and then we'll sneak under there and do the next part, the bottom part of it. So I'm just spreading it about 1 inch on either side of my line, and get up to the edge too at the top there. All right, and then I'm just going to take a little peek here, center that. Okay, kind of center it down here too as you smooth this down. So that's going to be smoothed down. What, before I do this, I think this is uneven a little bit. So I thought it was a ripped edge, which usually means it's cut on the, or ripped on the grain. But since this is gingham, I can see the lines, and it looks like it's just a little wider here. Hold please. Hold please. Gotta fix this. Okay. All right, so then we're going to tackle the bottom half. About 1 inch on each side. Just spread it real thin. If you are not certain about the glue bleeding through, if you're kind of wary, if your fabric is thin, you can iron on a piece of interfacing, iron-on interfacing on the back side of your fabric, and that will help you be more confident when you glue this down, that it won't seep through unless you've got a huge glob. But all right, so the next step, I top stitch down here. So I'm going to top stitch on each side of this. Make sure this is nice and smooth down. And then we'll flip it over and do the inside. All right, nice and stitched. If you don't have a sewing machine, don't worry. Just glue, and just make sure your glue is right up to the edges. All right, so the reason why I do the outside first is because I like to top stitch, and then my top stitch lines would show there. So then we can use our inside fabric. So you could probably use cardstock. I guess, especially if you already have a layer of fabric on the outside, you could probably use cardstock instead of fabric. I like to use fabric because it's so flexible. So cardstock, you probably have to put some score marks in it just to help you have a smooth rounded fold, rounded spine, I mean. So you'd probably have to work with it a little bit, but it might still work. I mean, I've used it before. I'm not going to say it might work because I think it still will work, but I think it is a little bit more difficult. Won't give you as much flexibility. So the fabric, I did cut this a little bit wider than 2 inches, which gives us a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to laying this down and covering up the stitches. Now my stitches are nice and even, and it probably wouldn't you know, look hideous or anything, but we're going to cover up those stitches. And this time I didn't have to draw a line. I'm not being quite as careful because I'm just going by the fabric that's on the outside. Just totally lining it up with the fabric that I can see poking through here. And then we'll give this a nice press, pressing down, not a press as in iron, but press it down firmly. Maybe even take your bone folder and run it over. So once again, just very thin layer. Use interfacing if you need to, no big deal. I've done it many times, many times. Even that out a little bit more. Okay. All right, so now this won't have stitching on it, so we will need to make sure that our edges are all down firmly. And looks like I need a little bit more right up there. All right, there you have it. There you have it. There's our really nice cover for a small journal. There we go. There we go. Loving it, loving it. And I've got my pockets on the inside, or on the outside right here. So let me go over the closures here real quick. So on this one, all I did was use a binder clip, and I clipped it shut, and then I used the binder clip as a holder for a pen. So that just can come right off, and very easily puts back on. I've got glue on my fingers and I was trying not to get anything messed up, but it does go on easily. It's a binder clip, right? All right, so got it, and got it. So there's that. This one has no pockets at all, front, inside cover or back, outside cover. But I did, this is silk, not sari silk, but it is silk, and I made one eyelet in the back cover, and I attached one layer of silk. Oh, this is also collaged on, so this is stitched before I glued it down, so I just made a little collage, and then this just wraps around like this, and the key, there's a key tied at the bottom, and so I tuck it in a few times, and then that will hold that closed nicely. So there are 60 pages, including fronts and backs, on these little one signature journals. You can see that the signature is sewn directly into the spine. And then this one, I used a button and string closure. So the button I put over here on the spine, and it's just wrapped with twine. And then I have some beads hanging down. So there's lots of options for closures. You could put an eyelet in the front cover and one in the back cover, have two pieces of silk or ribbon of some kind tied onto those, and then tie a bow on the side. You could do that as well, or just take a piece of sari silk and wrap it, and that will be a great closure too. I think that's it. So please join us on Facebook and Instagram, and I will leave a link below to our Etsy shop as well. These will be in the Etsy shop in a few days. I have a few very busy days coming up, but towards the weekend I should have these up in the shop. I will have these 3, and then I will also work on this one, so I should have 4 in there fairly soon. So they are they're lightly decorated. I think this is the first one I did, and I can't remember if this one is 100% complete or not. But I'll just show you they're lightly decorated. So I put a big pocket here, tucked in some things. This is a like a hotel key pocket, and I made that into a flip, so I'll be putting something under there. But we've got stained papers and book pages, all kinds of things in here. A little bit of sewing. See, I need to fill the pockets on this. There's lace on the edges. Here's some bunny lace made into a side tuck, so that'll be filled up. Just book pages and snippet strip. I'll put a snippet strip on each one. This book's snippet strip is done. So all kinds of fun little miniature things going on in there. This is the center of the signature. A little bit of fabric ruffle there, so a doily. Basically making them the same, but the pages will be different for each one, but lightly decorated, so super fun. I appreciate you joining me today. Hope this gave you some ideas. So go look through your stash, find a gift bag, and you may be able to make a journal today. That would be awesome. Take care, everybody, and we will catch you in the next video. Bye.